The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss some good bugs that you want in your home and around your home, as well as preparing your garden for the first frost. Our guest is from Wicked Awesome Gardening on YouTube. Danielle Martin will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour's full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along today, whether you're listening to us on one of the 18 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program here in 2024 through our radio app, through our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Underneath the Season 8 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay or in-studio video replay, however you're consuming such, we thank you. You want to be part of the Well, I'm your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
If you want to be part of the program, participation is welcome. You can do such by two simplistic avenues, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free, coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's joke of the week.
So, what do you do if you lose your root vegetable?
What do you do if you lose your root vegetable? Call the tomato police?
That's not it. No.
Oh.
Hope it will turn up.
Oh, okay. Hope it turn up.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. All right. This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests, insects, and things like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
All right. Well, there is good bugs and bad bugs in our garden, and then there are good bugs and bad bugs in our home. And many people whom there's a mindset of certain individuals that if it's in the house, it's got to die. So there are good bugs in which you would want to have in your home and around the perimeter, very close proximity to your home. We're going to go over them. We'll start with first spiders. Now, depending on what part of the country you are in and what part of the world you're in, there are poisonous spiders, and the identification of those are important so you know not to touch them or get near them or allow them to get on your persons. There are other good beneficial, spiders are beneficial across the board, but there are some that you wouldn't mind having in your home for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, so spiders are generally a good bug in your home. Now, obviously, as Joy mentioned, there's probably ones, depending where you are, that are poisonous or whatever, harmful. But they are, they eat a lot of the bad bugs. So that would include things like oftentimes
flies and insects, or mosquitoes.
Insects, yeah, mosquitoes,
gnats,
things like that. And a lot of times if you see them, like we'll see them in the fall and spring. Mm-hmm. We usually don't see them too much in the summer and winter. Sometimes in the winter. But it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing to have spiders in your home. They are a good bug.
Well, this is also one of the reasons why if you see spiders in your garden, you don't want to knock the spider web down or try to kill it, because they are capturing a lot of insects that are bad, that are going to affect you if you don't have a mega catch or using Nat Green products, No More Bugs. They'll limit the amount of bugs that you are going to be dealing with when you're trying to enjoy your backyard or your property.
Right. And so I know a lot of people are like, I found a spider in my house, I'm going to burn it down.
No bugs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the worst thing. If they do freak you out, you can relocate them.
There are people that have that phobia. We understand that.
We understand that. Like, for example, there was I think it was a wolf spider that was in here, and I was like, that spider definitely belongs outside. It's not an in-house spider. So I did relocate it to the outside. Same thing if you get what are called daddy long legs, or people call them cellar spiders. They do kind of belong in the cellar or outside, so you can relocate them. Now, that's what I would do. Again, if you're terrified of them, they do make different things that you can do to catch spiders. We just let them go. Our cat is obsessed with spiders, so sometimes he does get them. Sometimes he just knocks them off the wall and then
whines about where it went.
Yeah.
Screams about it. Then I help him knock it off the wall. It goes on the ground, and then he loses it, and then he's mad about that.
Yeah. So anyway, spiders. The next one is centipedes, and I personally get kind of creeped out by centipedes, but I know that they are a good bug. It's just that if you do see them, they are very just like gross looking to me, and they also, I don't know, they're like slithery to me. I don't know. But the name comes from 100 legs.
Right.
I don't think they have 100 legs, but
they are, house centipedes are typically beneficial since they are predators and eat other insects. However, there is there is some things that you want to be aware of. They can frighten people, yes, but they are typically living in damper areas of your home. Let's say the bathroom, or if you have paneling or part of the wall kind of coming off, or a little piece that's flat, they're probably going to be back underneath there because it's damp, it's dark, and it's cool, and that's where they like to live. And you see them crawling around. You don't want to, again, destroy them if you can avoid that.
Now, they do eat silverfish. We're going to talk about silverfish in a second here. So they also will eat roaches, carpet beetles. I'm not super familiar with carpet beetles, but they do eat a lot of the bad bugs. So you want to keep them around. If you do see a lot of centipedes, at some point it could mean that you might be
got a problem.
You have a problem. Yeah, I know. Like the office that I work in our home, I work from home. Sometimes I'll see centipedes, but one of the walls joins the bathroom, so it's possible that they're around because of that. So then silverfish are these little silvery, slimy, fishy looking bugs, and they're not necessarily a good bug, but they will indicate, if you find a lot of them, it means that you could be having some sort of water problem. So if you find them like in your bathroom all of a sudden, or underneath your kitchen sink, you might be having a leak.
You can also you want to figure out what's causing that, because they are coming in for a particular reason. Eliminate damp situations, and you will see these outside as well.
Yeah, so while silverfish isn't necessarily like a good bug, it's like a warning bug. So it might be able to help you determine if you could have, if you live in an older house, you could have rotting boards behind a wall for all you know. So something to keep in mind.
Silverfish may be brought in the house mistakenly. The pest can be taken indoors in dry food products, boxes, books, papers, fabric, and other items that have a high starch and sugar content. So be aware of, like, if you're letting something sit outside for a long time, then, I'm going to bring it inside. Could be the problem there.
Yep, you can bring a lot of little hitchhikers inside sometimes, so keep that in mind with any bug. So
I mean, so far the spiders, you're going to probably see the spiders more than anything. The house centipede, you're probably not going to see that very much because they'll do a lot of traveling at night or when it's dark. You might see, if you're in the bathroom, scurry across the floor. But other than that, the wolf spider, what'd you call it? The silverfish.
The silverfish, yeah.
Yeah, you probably see that more, but just depends on your conditions. So yeah, there you go.
Right, and if you maybe you have other good bugs in your area that may exist in your home, these are kind of the top.
Pest control
ones, yeah.
Pest control.
Pest control.
And even in newer homes, based on where you're at, you're going to see spider webs. You're going to see bugs in the house. So that's just part of, we're living in their world, and they're tolerating us. So some good bugs that you may see outside obviously we'll cover some of these very popular ones or very well-known ones. The honeybee or bees, pollination, very good and making honey. You don't want to disturb them. Now, if they are using your home as a living quarters, then there might be an issue. You posted, Holly, recently, the local ABC station in Milwaukee, they were doing some renovation. The story was that they found a whole colony of honeybees
and they
in the house.
No, it was in this old mall.
Oh, in the old mall, okay.
Yeah. So then instead of just getting rid of them, they
which some people would, they just spray them and whatever else, destroy them.
They relocated them to a farm, a bee farm, or what's it called? Not an apiary, isn't it? No, it's not an apiary. Whatever a bee farm is, I can't think of the word.
But they did the correct thing instead of getting rid of them like you would. But so that was a neat thing. Ladybugs, we see there's a difference between ladybugs and what is it? It's not Japanese beetles. That's not the correct term. They look like ladybugs.
Yeah.
You will get the infestation of them right at the end of summer, right in the fall when you get that really warm day. Some houses that are not properly sealed up, you are going to get them in your light fixture.
And they bite.
They bite, yes.
Yeah. But ladybugs, if it's a real ladybug, they are a good bug. They eat aphids. And then if you do have them inside your home, they will eat things like mealybugs on houseplants, and then oftentimes mites.
Asian ladybugs.
Yeah, there we go. The Asian ladybugs. They will eat mites and things like that. So if you do have some in your home, you could just let them be there. That's another one that drives our cats nuts, or cat nuts.
And now for us, because we have a cat, if we see Tex, which is the cat, playing with a bug, we will utilize our technology and figure out what it is to find out if it is safe for him if he does choose to consume it. And if it is allowed, most of the things in which he gets a hold of are safe and he does consume them.
Right, as much as we can. I mean, obviously there's times we're not home and we don't know what he might or might not be eating from the bug world. But there's certain ones that I don't think that would even come out because I think these bugs know that there's
a predator.
Yeah. Exactly. Red wiggle worms. So these are kind of the common normal earthworms.
Right.
And they compost the soil. They add their own waste to the soil. They decompose. They're a good insect for your garden.
You don't necessarily have to buy them if you just produce the correct ratio of organic material. Worms will come. Now, if you're specifically creating a worm bin to compost inside or in a shed, garage, basement, then you purchase red wigglers and you can build your own composting community of worms to break down the soil and get the worm castings and the worm juice and all of that other stuff, the byproducts of it. So you can purchase that online. There's good suppliers out there. But if you're just trying to compost in a compost bin, then do the correct ratio of browns to greens and avoid the things that you shouldn't put in there, bones, grease, milk, because it can attract predator or attract animals. And your compost bin can be attacked by those animals and tear things up.
I want to talk about these, the lacewings.
Yes.
They get the aphids. I don't think we have them up here where we are, but they are a good bug and you want to let them do their thing. And they also, if they are in your home, they will get the bad bugs on your houseplants. So that's something that you might want to think about.
Also, something you want to think about is Walton's Incorporated for all your butchering and spices needs.
Yeah, we are brought to you today by Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from, canning, preserving, etc. But what about the meat at Walton's? They have everything that you need to go from animal to edible. And they also have meatgistics.com. It's a website to help educate people on the hows and whys of meat processing, as well as a community of almost 15,000 users who use that to give their opinion, guidance on meat processing issues. And they are decades of experience in the meat processing industry. They have the also meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, high quality spices, etc. So Walton's helps you go from animal to edible, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
When we return, we're going to discuss preparing your garden for the first frost of the year. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Are you bugged by bugs? You need Naturally Green Products No More Bugs, environmentally friendly. Made in the USA, No More Bugs is a cedar blend that repels and eliminates mosquitoes, no-see-ums, ticks, fleas, roaches, ants, and more. No More Bugs is safe for you, your pets, and plants. Available online at nomorebugs.net, Amazon, Walmart.com, and the Home Shopping Network. Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated seed company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 10TG24 to save 10% off your order at jungseed.com. The coupon code is 10TG24 at jungseed.com for 10% off.
Soil Diva Liquid Microbe Stimulant Spray improves the health of your plants you work hard to grow, stimulates the natural enzymes, and increases beneficial soil bacteria. Go to soildiva.net. Soildiva.net. Water supply tanks provide BPA-free, long-term, safe storage for drinking water. From 35 to 1,500-gallon tanks, Water Supply Tanks has you covered. From preparing for unexpected needs, off-grid property, easy gardening access, and more. For questions and to order, visit watersupplytanks.com and use coupon code GARDENING10 to save 10% off your order. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. We're going to discuss preparing your garden for the first frost. But first, word from our honeybee friends at Honeybee Healthy.
Since 2000, Honeybee Healthy Inc. has helped beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Attracting pollinators to your garden this year is simple as hanging a hummingbird feeder with a mixture of sugar, water, and Honeybee Healthy Original. Don't be alarmed to see birds, bees, and butterflies dining together at the feeder. Pollinators coexist peacefully. Honeybee Healthy Inc. is offering a 10% discount on an 8-ounce bottle of Honeybee Healthy Original to the show's listeners. Enter code BGarden at checkout. For more information, mixing instructions, you can go to honeybeehealthy.com.
Well, frost is upon us, or nearly upon us, and there's some things in which we can prepare our garden for. Obviously, we want to try to get the most out of our garden as we can prior to the frost occurring. So, for example, we don't have a whole bushel of green tomatoes that we've got to figure out what to do with. So, we'll start with tomatoes real quick. In order to get your tomatoes to ripen on the vine, start turning on the vine, there's a couple of ways in which you can accelerate or allow this to occur. From the time the flower develops on the tomato plant to the time you're harvesting at least a turning tomato, you're looking at about 20 to 28 days. So if you are getting in that window of, okay, the average first frost is about 30 days away, what you can do is a couple of things. One, you can stop watering your garden or watering the tomatoes. I know the precipitation, you can't control that, but if you're irrigating it, that's the time you want to stop watering. Two, each plant you can take and go 8 inches away from the plant, 6 to 8 inches away from the stem, and take a shovel and go straight down 3/4 of the way around the plant, and that will cut off the roots, some of the roots of it, and start stressing the plant out. You can also top the plant, take and cut the growth tips off of each limb, and that will stop the vertical growth and start putting the energy into the fruit development. So that is a couple of things in which you can do for tomatoes, as that is one of the most popular plants for people to grow and want to get the most out of it. Now, if you're doing it in containers, you can just cut the water off, and you could actually, that's a little different. We're talking mainly in ground or in a raised bed in that situation to get them to ripen.
So if you have any perennials that are possibly tropical that you can bring inside your home to overwinter, you would want to do that sooner than later, just because once you reach a certain point of frost could happen anytime. And while I know that a lot of these meteorologists like to try to warn people as much as possible, it's better if you've been growing these tropicals for a long time to bring them in, or not even if they're tropicals, but if they are sensitive to the cold, to the frost, etc. I'd rather bring them in sooner and be safe than leave them out and then have them.
Well, I don't know about other parts of the country, but a couple of weeks ago in the northern portions of Wisconsin, there were temperatures 37, 38, 39 for lows, and they were very prolific or very, very vocal about frost warnings. Now, I don't think it got that cold, but low 40s is where it was at. We're still in early. Yeah, we're still in technically summer, and the leaves have not even started to change. That's still cold, or getting really cold quite early.
Right, and that's all we're saying is that if you do have those sensitive plants, you can bring them in, or if you maybe have other things going on later on in the year, you can do some of these things sooner than later. So you could also cut the perennials back. That's another thing people do, is they trim them back to wherever they should do. A lot of times it's just like kind of level with the soil. A lot of times it might be something else. And then if you have anything that you would cover, like I know a lot of people cover their rose bushes, their whatever it's called, arborvitae.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. And then you can also think about planting your fall
Next week on the program, we're going to discuss how to pronounce specific plant words.
Yeah, you can plant your fall bulbs if you haven't done that yet. And
get your garlic ready.
So these are some things that you can do before that would be the freeze, the bulbs.
Right.
But you can do that sooner. Well, not necessarily always sooner than later, but it's something that, like, hey, I have these bulbs that I bought in the spring. Where are they? I don't know. Oh, maybe I should find them. And they're like rotting in the corner of your garage.
Well, here's the thing. We all experience this. We've all experienced this, and we'll do it again and again. We work hard for our perennials and or our vegetables, as well as our perennials or annuals or flowers. And we work hard to get them to produce. Everything's going well, and then we look at the forecast, and it's typically we're a month away from the first average frost, but hey, there's a possibility of frost or cold or temperatures that our plants are not going to like. So we fight to try to protect them, whether it's through low tunnels or fabric over top of them to protect them from our early frost, because it's supposed to be 42 tonight and 42 tomorrow night, and then the next 10 days it's supposed to be 85 for highs and 65 for lows. So we fight this losing battle where we protect our plants, because we know the inevitable is going to happen, that they're going to freeze and it's going to be all, but we want that little bit more. Can we get one more week out of them? Now, here where we're located in southeast Wisconsin, you hear these stories, the old farmer stories. Back in 2016 was the best year we ever had. And that was the case for us, because we started planting things a month earlier than we ever had before, and we ever have since. We put things in the ground in March. The colder sensitive, or not the cold, the cool tolerant or cool plants. And then we didn't get that first frost until November 18th.
Yeah, it was like November, yeah.
We were picking tomatoes a week before Thanksgiving. So we had a month longer in the fall and a month earlier in the spring, when since then we've had snow on the ground in some instances in early November, and we've had snow on the ground in middle of April. So it's one of those things. But we're preparing for frost. We've gotten way off the topic here about preparing the garden for frost. You do want to, there are plants in which you can go in and put in the garden that are frost tolerant and frost that doesn't get affected by frost. Your lettuces, your radishes, your spinach. You can get some carrots in, you can get some turnips in, you can get some rutabagas in. All take different durations of time for harvest, but these are cool weather crops, and crops that like the longer nights and the cooler days.
Also, knowing your plants, for example, kale,
this is Fred. He is a carrot.
kale is okay when it comes to the frost for the most part.
Right.
So you might think, okay,
what can I leave in?
Yeah, what can I leave in? What can I, or what can I possibly just cover up? Like Joy had mentioned, carrots is one that you could cover up in case of a frost, or certain soft body tomatoes or soft body vegetables like tomatoes. Yes, you do want to bring those in. But if it's a hardier vegetable, then if it's going to go through one frost, if you cover it up or something, it should be okay.
Rule of thumb: if you planted it after the last frost, it's not going to make it through the first frost.
Right, exactly. And some of these things at this point, you probably already are done harvesting. Like most people's cucumbers are done at this point,
or they're so bad and bitter. Tomatoes are the same way. The longer the tomato sits on the vine in order to ripen, the tougher the skin is. Now, regardless of that, no matter how tough the skin is on a tomato, it still far surpasses any tomato you're going to buy at the supermarket. Now, it does, the farmer's market is a totally different world because those are produce that is coming out of the same environment or method of harvest as you are in your backyard. But it's a good way to supplement those things in which you may not have enough of or had a crop failure, is that farmer's market.
Right, and that is a good way to supplement is the farmers markets, and you can find those by searching farmers market and your zip code, and that way you can get an idea for where you can find one. And this is definitely becoming a popular time for farmers markets because now a lot of harvest is being harvested.
But I mean, you can cover your plants, protect your plants with a frost cloth or a garden blanket, floating row cover. You can use a bed sheet. You don't want to use flannel because that's too heavy and thick on your plants. You can drape this over top of your plants. It's not going to crush the plants. These are light fabrics. You want to avoid plastic because plastic will touch. If it touches the foliage, that foliage in which it touches, it will kill that. The fabric will not. So you want to be aware of that. If you are getting to the point where you're trying to prolong your plants, water your plants early in the day before the frost happens to give them more hydration, and a hydrated plant is a healthier plant, not only for bugs, but also to sustain colder temperatures. And if you do get the place where you do have snow coverage on these plants that are not going to die because of it, you blow the snow off as quickly as possible so you prevent the damage of the plant from the snow. Your pine trees or your trees, they capture a lot of snow and they will start to bend over, and too much snow, they can snap at the stem. So you want to be aware of that and shake the snow off of those particular areas as well.
Another thing you can do is if you planted perennials, like new perennials, in the spring or anytime throughout the season, their roots might be shallow and you might not have mulched them yet. And not saying you have to mulch, but utilizing mulch before a frost or close to a frost and even just over winter will help kind of insulate those roots. Even if maybe you don't want to determine a certain type of mulch, you could just use some straw in the interim until you decide what you're going to do. I know a lot of people, when you plant these perennials, you might have a plan and you're like, I don't know what kind of mulch I want to use, blah, blah, blah. So something to protect those roots is important, especially if you did just plant them. They may have some shallow roots and you want to protect them from whether it be the frost or eventually the freeze.
Well, as we talked about, the nighttime temperatures in some areas would indicate that summer may be over. Well, we know summer is getting close to being over because the kids are back in school and those nights are colder than they have been. But there is one problem that many of us have faced, and that is we have forgotten about our lawn.
Yeah, just because we don't want to forget about our yards, those Japanese beetles either. They might be gone, but they're not far. Not only do they feast on your roses and berries this summer, they laid eggs on your turf so they can start again next year. Take a stand with Phylum's Grub-Gone. Grub-Gone is a non-chemical BT granule that specifically targets scarab pests and their larvae. Simply apply the granule with a spreader, irrigate it into the soil, and let the naturally occurring bacteria do its job.
Grub-Gone is easy to use, simple to use, and is non-toxic, and is a great choice to effectively control grubs. And the best part about it, it's non-toxic to bees and other beneficial pollinators and insects. In fact, Grub-Gone has no label restrictions for around flowering plants, so you don't have to worry about those bees or insects taking up that toxin pollen and taking about and infecting their hive and their colonies. Find out more at grubgone.com from the parent company Phylum Bioproducts, the natural choice. That's grubgone.com. Hang out with us, YouTuber from the Wicked Awesome Gardening, Danielle Martin will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Wisconsin Greenhouse Company has custom-made greenhouses to suit your needs. Grow year-round. Strongest greenhouses that will last a lifetime. From agricultural to lounging to entertaining. For more information, go to wisconsingreenhousecompany.com.
Happy 65th anniversary to David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to save 10% off your order. Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy you've chose us to be part of your day. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Danielle Martin is the creator of YouTube channel Wicked Awesome Gardening. Based in New England, she is thrilled to help bring gardening tips and information to the world. She has a passion for helping people grow awesome food from yard to table. Welcome to the program, Danielle.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day, not only to join Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. And I'll start with this. All right, you grow in raised beds, but you started in containers. What are some things people want to consider before they grow in a raised bed?
So if you're going from containers to raised beds, you want to really think about your setup, how high you want them to be. The great thing about raised beds is that it allows for people who have mobility issues to not have to bend as far. There's a lot of other benefits to it as well, as far as drainage and easier management. But that's one of the things I really like because I have bad knees now.
And, you know, you have the ability to plant a considerable amount more in a raised bed than a few pots on a patio, porch, or deck.
Yes. Now you can grow quite a lot in containers on a deck. I had about 30 different vegetables growing on a small, say, 4 by 6 foot deck. So you can do quite a lot in a small space. But yes, once you transition to raised beds, you've got a lot more space. It lends itself really well to the square foot gardening method. So you can just divide up your bed since it's a nice uniform row. And then you know how much that you can fit, which is really great.
Fantastic. So what is a garden DIY that you did this year?
This year, actually, I am transitioning to my own homestead. So all I did really this year was set up just a couple of small raised beds where I was growing some tomatoes and some flowers just to have something. But next year, it's going all out, so that's going to be great. But one of the things that I did in the past that I really loved was because I was not very handy with tools before. So I actually built some really decently sized, like 4 by 10 foot beds without using any tools, because they have at Home Depot these garden corners made out of concrete. So you can go to Home Depot, you can get the boards cut right there if you don't have power tools or you're not confident enough to work with them. Home Depot would do a couple of cuts on the wood that you purchase from them right there in the store, which is also helpful if you don't have a truck, because you can then put them into your car to get them home. And then you just slide them into the garden corners, fill it with soil, and boom, you've got raised beds.
You would be amazed at how many boards, 8-foot boards by 4 foot, you can fit in an SUV. Quite.
It's very true.
And with your homestead transitioning, and I'm sure if people are not aware of this little technique, you just take a notebook and just line after line. Here's the things I want to accomplish, and just start marking them off when you get them done. And that list never gets depleted because you're always taking 2 off and adding 4 more on.
Oh, it's so true, especially because I got goats this year, and it's just gone from there.
And it's a good problem to have, because you sit around going, well, what should I do? If you have that list, here's 3 things I can do now because I got 45 minutes and they take about 12 minutes each. Or here's a Saturday project. That's this whole thing over here.
Exactly.
Tell us more about your YouTube channel. You've had quite a transition from living in apartments to now having your own homestead. Quite a move.
Yes, I did take a lot of this year off. I was just starting to get rolling this year, and I had a whole bunch of videos planned, and most of it revolved around the goats. We had a goat that was pregnant, giving birth, and all of that. So there was a lot of content in my content plan for that. And unfortunately, and you can see in my most recent video, I talked about it because I took the last couple of months off. We actually lost her, unfortunately, which was very sad. She had a tragic accident literally as she was going into labor. And we had thought we had lost the babies and everything, but we have 2 beautiful baby does. We just don't have mama anymore, which is sad. But now I'm very much energized now that I've kind of broken that barrier and I've done the video on it and I've sat down and talked about it and processed it. I'm very, very motivated. I've got other videos already shot, so I'm really excited to get back to that. A lot of this fall is going to concentrate on the goats because that's kind of the season that I'm in, the breeding, the management, and building infrastructure for them and for my chickens. But then once spring hits, or we get closer to spring, all the garden stuff is going to start popping off. I cannot wait. I haven't had a real garden in a couple of years now because I've been in flux and in transition. But this year it's seed starting in the house again and getting a big garden going. And I'm going to be expanding from these 2 little raised beds to probably about 1,000 square feet of growing space.
And, you talk about the loss of the mother goat, and it's a sad thing. And you will, I grew up on a farm, and it's one of these things it's a terrible thing. You wipe your eyes, you go, well, we'll try again next year, and you move on because that's the way you got to go. You can't sit there and go, well, I should have done this, I should have done that.
Exactly.
Put another quarter in the machine and keep trying, I guess, is the best way to say it.
So now if somebody's looking to buy land or a house and want to grow a garden, what is some things that they should consider, especially if they want to do a lot of gardening?
One of the main things, I used to be a real estate agent, so I've got a pretty good grounding on this, but from a homesteading aspect, once you do find your land, you really want to take some time. Don't just jump right in and start planting. You want to take a look at your land and how it develops over the season, throughout the year, because you may find that you build a whole garden and it's not in a convenient place where you thought it would be really convenient, but it's not. Or you got to see how the water runs on your property, how it drains, because what if you just built where you think is going to be great, but then, you've got your raised bed in like 6 inches of swampy water when we have a really big storm. So you want to sit with it and kind of take a year and see it through all its seasons, because had I known that, I would have cleared the back acre of my property and I would have been planting fruit trees down there, and then found out that, oh, hey, in the spring, that breaks its banks and it comes up and it floods that acre. So that's actually where the goat pasture is going to be, except that they're not going to use it in spring. They're just going to be a summer, fall, and then back up to the top of the property type of thing. But had I not taken the time, I would have wasted a lot of time, effort, and money into that.
And I've always been told, and this is really not good information, because I've always been told you want to look at a property after a big snowstorm to see how the snow lays. But nowadays, the property, you can't, if you see a property that you want, you better make a move on it, because somebody else has already beat you to it if you think too long on it.
In this market, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. Also, for those who may be in the market for a homestead or just transitioning and wanting to buy a new house, most times you have to go through an agent. Now, with your experience, is there any tips or tricks or of how to get a hold of a good agent and not just somebody that goes through the motions to get the check at the end of the day?
You want to talk to 3 or 4 different agents. And a lot of it is kind of how you gel. You want to ask, what do you do to source properties? A lot of people make the assumption that the agent actually really is who finds the properties, and that's not really where the value of an agent is. So if they're saying, oh yeah, I know all the listings, I know all the tips and tricks, you actually, in this market, most people are finding their properties themselves online. I actually found this property that I own now myself online. And being an agent, I could have negotiated this myself, but it had a couple of aspects to the deal that were a little beyond my knowledge. So I sought out by calling the team lead, so the guy in charge basically of my local Keller Williams office. And I said, I need somebody who's going to help me with this, this, and this. Who is your specialist in land purchases and in properties that have tax lien issues? And he hooked me up with the right person, and she was a wonderful negotiator. And that's really where the value of a real estate agent these days lies. It's not in finding the properties, because that's easier than it's ever been. It's in the negotiations and who can win you the bid.
And now in some states, now their laws changed that you get to see what the agent is making before the deal is. It's a whole big thing that there's a lot of things have changed now. With agents and realtors and all of this other stuff.
Yes, that happened literally right as I was stepping out of being an active agent. So I really did not inform myself fully on what's happened there. You could always kind of assume a ballpark of what the agents are making, because typically the commission percentage is between 4 and 6% of the total purchase. And then you kind of divide that in half. Usually, not always, but usually if the seller's agent is getting half and the buyer's agent is getting half. But a lot of things are changing with that. Something now is that the buyers have to pay the buyer's agent, and I'm not entirely well versed on that, but I think that's actually not serving the buyers well, actually. So.
And and we purchased land, and we spoke to you for some advice last year.
That's right.
If you've got 50 questions you want to ask your agent, you might as well ask them 60 questions, because that you're paying them to do a job, and you need the job done right the first time.
Exactly. Ask them everything, and if they're annoyed that you're asking them everything, you need a different agent.
They're not the right one.
Right.
So, what are some of your best seed saving tips for the garden?
Let's see, best seed savings. So you really want to take a look at what's the best seed saving method for each individual plant that you're trying to save. Like flower seeds are going to be different than, say, tomatoes. And then there's a couple different ways to do that, because there's the fermentation method, or there's just laying them out on a plate type of thing. The fermentation method for tomatoes is a very good way to go. That's typically what I like to do. You kind of put them in a little bit of water, and you kind of let them sit so that it starts to ferment and break down that gel coating.
Right.
It's stinky, but it works.
Right. And then, like green beans, you just pop them out and let them dry, but you got to label this stuff.
Yes. Oh God, labeling. And I have ADHD, like really bad ADHD, which I'm finding is more and more common with in the gardening, like content creator world. We're all like, we have serious ADHD, and that's kind of why we like doing this, because it's a different thing every day, but it's also cyclical and repetitive, but it's a wonderful hyperfixation.
Right. Yeah.
But the great thing about that is, I just lost my train of thought. See, ADHD.
There you go.
But labeling. Yeah, but for me personally, labeling is a must, because I will put things in 10 different places. So now I'm very regimented with it. I have my seed saving box. I've got different little, like the photo boxes. Mm-hmm. So it's got a bunch of little boxes so I can organize it. And that speaks to my heart that wants to be organized and have everything centralized. Yeah. So that's very, very helpful. But yeah, if I don't label it, forget it. It's just going to then become a pile of stuff that I don't know where anything is.
And these families are all the same. The brassicas all look the same. The tomatoes, all hot and mild peppers, all look the same. And even some varieties are the same unless you know what they are, like Hungarian sweet and Hungarian hot. You can lose friends over that if you mix that up the wrong way.
Oh, it's so true.
Well, Danielle, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered us. How can people find you on the internet?
So I am Wicked Awesome Gardening across all the typical platforms. I don't really use TikTok or Instagram so much anymore. Facebook and YouTube are where you're going to find the most recent and up-to-date content.
Absolutely. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for the time and the education you've not only shared with Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. And we wish you the best on your homestead journey.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's your garden questions and our garden answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Take the guesswork out of composting with the AeroBin 400 or smaller 200 for easy composting. The AeroBin mimics how nature decomposes waste. The AeroBin is easy to use. You prepare your balanced organic waste, just open it up, drop it in, and close. After a short time, fertile compost is produced, which is easily accessed via the lower side door. The thermal insulation in the AeroBin conserves heat, leading to rapid breakdown of the biomass, and works efficiently year-round, even in cooler regions. There is no need to turn the biomass, and it is patent rodent resistant. It has little odor and can kill annoying weeds and seeds. It is BPA free. The AeroBin 400 or 200 comes with a reservoir at the bottom to collect the leachate, When diluted, makes for great compost tea liquid fertilizer. Aerobin composts kitchen and garden waste quickly. Easy to assemble with no special tools needed. The Aerobin makes composting rewarding and easy. Go to burpee.com or homedepot.com to purchase. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com. Use coupon code ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. That coupon code is ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com.
Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy that you have joined us today. Hey, it's time for your garden questions and our garden answers. If you got a question, send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. We'll see what we can get through to the top of the hour. Holly, I'll start with this one for you. I have a number of large zucchinis that grew faster than I thought they would. Besides composting them, any suggestions on what I could do? I prefer mine to be smaller and more tender. These, I would assume, are very woody, being as large as they are.
Right. So, what you can do is you could roast them. I know that they could still be a little bit woody, but if you scoop out the seeds and roast them,
you mean
chop them
like split it in half and scoop it out like a canoe?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you could chop them into smaller pieces, coat them in olive oil and whatever seasonings you like, and then roast them in the oven at about 400 degrees until they're fork tender, like super fork tender, which would probably take like 30 minutes.
Like you would a pumpkin.
Right.
Okay.
That could help. Also,
well,
you can make zucchini relish.
Zucchini is kind of like the mushroom of the garden. It will absorb whatever flavor you add to it.
But this will help. That roasting
break it down.
Will help break it down.
Break it down.
Otherwise, zucchini relish is an option. You could also do like refrigerator zucchini pickles. I don't recommend canning zucchini pickles because they get super mushy. But you could do like a refrigerator zucchini pickle. So those are some options.
Zucchini pie.
Yeah, you could do the pie.
Now, how do you do zucchini pie? You're going to make an apple pie. You get all the ingredients you need for an apple pie except for the apples. You substitute the apples with peeled, thinly chopped or cut zucchini, de-seeded, and nobody will know the difference. It is absolutely a duplicate and works really, really well in that aspect. So yeah, you really don't want to you don't want to compost them if you don't want to. There's other options to do such. What is it whenever you make noodles out of it? What do you call that?
Zucchini noodles, zoodles.
Zoodles. If you did that thin enough, I think that would work on a very large, because you're breaking it down so thin that it would be just fine. You wouldn't get that woodiness necessarily.
Right. So
I see on social media people going to pick your own place for apples, pumpkins, etc. I recently moved to a new city. How do I find the location that would have that for me in my area?
Sure. So you can go to you could go to pickyourown.org. That is a website where you can search for pick your own everything. It can be anything from apples to pumpkins to
lavender.
To lavender to berries to
but also seasonal now. Keep in mind.
Seasonal. Right. That's what I'm saying. So this is something that you might want to utilize, year round, but they do have that information there. And then as far as finding out, what kind of extras that they have at that place, because I know sometimes you see these social media things and they have like this backdrop of pumpkins you can take a picture in front of, or the fancy stuff. If you go then to their website, it'll show you typically like whatever, it's Joey's Pumpkin Farm. It'll show you what they have.
I have a pumpkin farm now.
Do they have hay rides? Do they have a corn maze? Do they have that thing?
And what does it cost?
Yeah,
there's the other thing.
Yeah,
because there can be one really fancy one that literally is like $30 a kid, but 10 miles down the road, there's a more relaxed farm atmosphere for like half the price or a third of the price.
Right, because there's
no joke
where there's like these massive hay rides that go on forever and ever, and then there's like Uncle Bob down the road, like Joy mentioned,
who markets to the normal everyday consumer, or the other one where they know the people. And these people, they will pay whatever it costs to make sure their kid has a wonderful fall experience. And that's what that farm is catering to, those people.
Right. So there are different levels, and maybe where you live, you don't have those options, and that's something you can figure out too. Or you can read and you're like, okay, so the one that's like 10 minutes closer to me is overdone. But then if I drive just 10 minutes more, I'm going to find something a little bit better and more my speed. So sometimes you want to look into that as well. And also like maybe there's one closer to a larger city, and then there's one that's further away, and it could be a different experience.
And Holly and I do not have children. And if you have children, you probably already know this little tip. But if you're an aunt and uncle, or you're going to take somebody, that if you think it's going to take 2 hours, budget for 4.
Right.
Double it up.
Right. Especially just sometimes getting them, wrangled up and put into the car takes.
And there's going to be
minutes.
lines.
Yeah, lines.
Yep. So.
Yep.
Let's see here. I do not have much storage room for my tomato cages and garden tools, etc. I don't want to buy something. I have a large tarp. Can I just place them under the tarp for winter and use some random logs to secure it to the ground?
I don't see why not.
Well, yes, that works, but also depends on if you are part of an HOA or there's certain aesthetics in which you have to make look nice. Otherwise, secure it.
I would,
but here, make sure you secure it down, because that is a great habitat for raccoons, possums, anything in the winter that needs somewhere to get out of the cold. That's a great little house.
Even maybe consider tying it with some twine or something. I would take the garden tools, whatever they are, if you can bring them inside the house, if they're like clippers or snips or something.
Wooden handles, going to rot.
Yeah, but if it's something that maybe you really just don't have room for, you could take some cooking oil and put that on something that's mild, like a canola, something that's not very scented, and you can put that on the blades or like whatever it may be to help kind of preserve it over winter.
And foxes, that would be a good little place based on how much you have it heaved up, So,
but I like the creativity because you kind of have to work with what you have. I would also maybe ask around or look for what are called the Buy Nothing groups on Facebook. You may be able to find something to store certain things in. I'm not really sure. People are getting rid of certain things this time of year, garden bins or whatever. So that could be an option as well.
2 55-gallon plastic drums. Put the tools in the one, and then invert the other one on top, and then seal it up with tape and let it sit there.
Right, and the person that asked this question was concerned a little bit about wind. So if you do something like a drum, you want to make sure it's not going to roll away somehow.
Well, I had tools, and now everything's gone.
Right.
Well, that being said, we are out of time, Holly, and we thank you for yours. It's time for the portion of the program where we discuss what we learned today. And I learned from our guest, Danielle Martin from Wicked Awesome Gardening, that you want to survey your property for a year if you're wanting to turn it into a homestead, not just, look at it, what I was always told, look at it during the winter so you can see where the low spots is and the snow buildup. So that was... but
I learned that goats apparently have more than one baby at a time.
you didn't know that?
I did not know that.
They're called kids.
I know they're called kids. I just didn't. I just thought, one goat, one baby, like a human.
Cows can have, people have multiple babies. Cows have multiple. Deer have multiple babies.
That's true.
Why is it the goats just have one baby and that's it?
I don't really like
Shut
goats.
it down. That's it. We
I
got
really
one.
don't like goats, so I don't really like to know goat facts.
All right. Well, what we learned today is brought to you by Honey Bee Healthy.
Honeybeehealthy.com is serious about the business of bees and helping beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Whether you're a professional beekeeper or a bee hobbyist, we've got the products to help you maintain a healthy hive. Visit honeybeehealthy.com. They are all made in the USA.
Tune into the program next week where we will discuss evergreen tree care, as well as we're getting close to October to-do list in the garden. And our guest is author Karen Hugg will be with us and will answer your garden questions. So until next week for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.